So in this video, it's going to be hard for me to express my emotions and my feelings. I cut a video version of this last night that was over the top emotional, which I'll put on Patreon. But this video is going to be a love letter to the city of Las Vegas, but it's going to be a scary video for me because in this video, I'm going to point out how this city has gotten so hyper violent in the worst place possible that I believe it's becoming a liability to come here unless something is done. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit of history about why I'm so grateful for this and what this has done for me, my wife, Caroline, and my family in the city, Las Vegas. I'm going to give you some information on a absolutely stunning thing that a Metro officer told me on the Strip as to why they won't address certain things on Las Vegas Boulevard. And I don't know that he speaks for the whole force, but what he said was absolutely sobering and bone-chilling. And I'm also going to go over the problem and why it won't go away based on what our police chief, McCahill, said, because he said some things that were absolutely frightening as well. So my name's Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. Some background history on me. First of all, some of you guys think I hate this city. I don't. I don't stream anymore because streamers are getting assaulted on camera, having their gear stolen, and that ties into the whole reason why I'm scared for this city. We'll get to that in half a second. But I started working on the Strip in 2007 when I couldn't find work anywhere else, and I started handing out naked lady cards. I was literally that person. Click, 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 click. I had to buy an AM radio so I wouldn't go nuts. And after the one day of work, the guy didn't want to pay us, and I got really mad and said, "How dare you? You know, these guys don't even speak English, and you're trying to stiff me too. I'm going to go to the news channels." I screamed and yelled because I was starving and I needed the money, and it wasn't some righteous thing. Should have been doing it for the right reasons, but I had no God in me at that time. And that led to me doing nightclub passes, which I didn't know was a complete illegal hustle. And then that led to me working in the timeshare business, which I did from 2007 all the way through 2019. 12 years I spent on the Strip. And during that time, I met so many nice people, and we would hear about crimes, but nothing like what I'm about to tell you. Let me tell you this. What I'm about to tell you is a major problem that you're not even seeing. And I know we like to celebrate Vegas, and we like to play slots vicariously through slot streamers, and we like to eat $200 cheeseburgers through $200 cheeseburger channels, and those things are all well and good. But I'm at a place right now where I'm literally scared about it, and I have to address it. And after this, guess what? We can make some more interesting, quirky videos on history and stuff like that, I promise. Okay? And by the way, if you like this video and you like my style, you might subscribe, but you should probably listen a little bit more before you bother to do that, because I'm going to pour my heart out for you. So I'm not oblivious to the fact that if I didn't have this city backdrop behind me, nobody would watch me. All right. I was inspired by Jacob's life in Vegas. My wife and I watched him, and she said, "You should do videos too, hubby." And I said, "Nobody wants to see me point my camera at the Bellagio," and so on and so forth. I finally did meet Jacob. It was an experience. Never meet your heroes. I really wish him and I could have been friends because I respect the heck out of the guy for grinding away when nobody saw that there could be a Vegas YouTube channel, and he did really well for himself, and he deserves it. And after I started the channel, COVID happened. And my goodness, the growth was there. So I owe everything. I mean, if I was in Des Moines, Iowa, nobody would be watching my YouTube channel. So I'm not completely out of it with the fact. So I know that one of the reasons people watch me is because I have the city of Las Vegas behind me. Here's the Bellagio. Here's the cool Luxor. And I'm so grateful that it gave me the ability to get on camera, learn new skills, be myself, make income from my family, and partially live out a dream. So this city, it hurts me when I see what's happening to this city. And what is happening in this city? Well, let me explain. I did a video, or I started to do a video, because Fox 5 Vegas news feed, I noticed a trend. I kept clicking show more over the trend, and I found that there were 18 incidences of incredibly violent crimes on the Las Vegas Strip between April 28th and June 30th. That's only 2 months. Now, I asked a friend who's lived here his whole life, in his 60s, and he said back in the day, you might have heard of a murder once on the Strip per year. And even then, it was big news when it happened. He didn't hear of any of these incidents. He didn't hear about people in Caesar's Palace and the Excalibur being shot and killed, like in their rooms. He didn't hear about what happened last night that put me over the top, which was 3 people went into the MGM Grand and had solicited a woman for sex. And then they attempted to murder him, stabbing him in the left side of his chest multiple times. Praise Jesus, the man survived and he's not dead. But nobody heard about this amount of violence before past, and nobody's hearing about it now. And even when you do hear about it, news, as I was doing in that other video, says, an incident was reported at the 3700 block of Las Vegas Boulevard, or 3900 block of South Las Vegas Boulevard. They don't say the casino names because that's bad for business. Fair enough. I mean, I guess the casino name doesn't matter, but at least it would let people know that it's happening on the Strip, at the Luxor, or at the Excalibur, or at Caesar's Palace. But they don't show you that information. They leave you ill prepared for the fact that these things are happening, and they get swept into the news cycle. And what's really the worst part about this is that I don't see an end in sight of this, and I don't know what's really causing it, and I don't know that anybody is really doing anything. And if they are, I hope they would reach out to me. Please reach out to me. You can find my contact info below. I'd love to interview you. You can tell me what's being done to address this, please. Because this city that I love is disappearing. I was on the Strip, for example, talking to some officers. It was late at night, and I noticed there was 17 people selling beer and alcohol out of coolers in front of Bellagio. So I walked up to Metro, and Metro has a habit of showing force. It's good to have a show of force, but they just stand around and they just observe, and they talk to tourists and take pictures, and they're very friendly. And he said, "Is your camera on?" Because I had my phone on a gimbal. I said, "Yes." And he said, "Turn it off." So I thought he meant the camera, and he meant power the phone off entirely. And he explained to me, when I asked, "Aren't you worried about people selling beer out of coolers to minors?" He said, "Have you seen the news?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "We say anything to anybody about it. If we start to prosecute it, we're the bad guys. We're discriminating against people, and we're all of a sudden racist." Well, if those are the attitudes of the police, and I can't say that it is, this might have just been one officer's take, but if that's the attitude of the police, I don't know if there's an end in sight for the lawlessness that seems to be overtaking and consuming the Strip like a cancer. So Sheriff McCahill is the new sheriff. Former sheriff, Joe Lombardo, he won the gubernatorial election, and he went in Reno, and now he's our governor. Well, he had a State of the Department address, and what he had said specifically was, "What you want to hear from me, instead of hearing chronic persistent hotspot, problem neighborhoods, well, we're going to start looking at them as vulnerable communities. Start looking at them as a way that we, as a police department, can go in there and have dramatic outcomes that are different than what it is that we've always had." Now, I agree that teaching the community that the police are your friends and to respect the police is very, very, very important. When I was a kid growing up in Canada, we were always taught about the friendly Mountie and the friendly police officer and their partners in the community. But when you're taught that at a very, very young age, that's one thing. When you have fully grown adults who are running around being just voraciously violent, that's a whole nother thing altogether. Without an address that says we won't tolerate violence in this town, anybody who decides to go out and do violence is going to suffer dire consequences. We don't have any kind of law enforcement presence that scares people from even trying the violence. Now, this is in stark contrast to what Mayor Oscar Goodman did when he was in office. There's a story about Oscar Goodman, wherein that he said that we should cut the thumbs off of graffiti artists because he hated graffiti, and he said it was a blight on the city. Even going so far as to have a scimitar, a big sword on his desk. He had a person who was actually arrested of it, and the father wanted to scare the kid straight, so they brought the kid into the office, and the kid saw the sword. Obviously, he didn't cut his fingers off, but that was the attitude of Oscar Goodman, a man who has been hardened by living a life of dealing with mob clients versus whatever we have now. If that officer was reflective of the entire police force, and if McCahill is serious about not cracking down on crime. So if the Metropolitan Police have a different plan, please let me know. I would love to hear it. But at the same time, it just sounds like there's not a lot that's being done to address all of this. So what I want to tell you in this video, to summarize it succinctly, is this. I love this city. The city gave me and my wife and my family a chance to grow and explore our creativity when nowhere else would have us. I can make videos from anywhere, but it was Vegas that gave me that boost. And this city is such a great place for families. But if the crime continues this way, if it gets to a point where we're on Niagara Falls and we're living through Niagara Falls syndrome, there's no turning back. When you're on the river and you're not paying attention and you're just floating downstream, suddenly behind you, you hear a roaring sound. You look behind you and you realize that you're only 20 feet away from the brink of Niagara Falls. You can paddle that boat as hard as you possibly can against the current. But sometimes you're going to hit disaster. And I hope we're not at that point yet. That's my video, and I've got that out of my system. I'm going to try really hard to produce some positive content for you, maybe some reaction videos where I actually get to laugh like the last video that I posted up here on my channel. Now, this video may very well be demonetized. If you guys want to help us out, you can always click the link in the first comment of this video and go over to Amazon. There's a book that I highly recommend called The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. And if you use that link, shop for anything on Amazon, including going ahead on Amazon Prime Day, putting in your whole order so we get a few kickbacks from the Amazon people to help the channel out. That's my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I love this city like you don't even know. My name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas, and I love you, sweet Caroline. Can't wait to see you when you get back to our fair town later on this summer. That's the time of the video where I say 3, 2, 1, click. 3, 2, 1, and click.